So, Sean Connery died today, and it was surprising to me. I mean, not terribly surprising given that he was 90, but I knew that. I've been speaking about him to some friends recently, and somehow I've been thinking about him a lot lately too, for some reason. I'm a big fan of Goldfinger. That's my favorite Connery movie. Um, yeah, and basically, everybody dies. I mean, this sounds like it's common knowledge, but it's true. And the truth is that Sean Connery, just like you, just like me, just like everybody, is nothing more than a passing form of the one life. The one life, which is eternal, total, and full, assumes different forms, embodies a completely different new life, and lives in accordance with that, as per whatever that life situations are and so forth, which are all, by the way, at the dictate of the one life. So it's all temporary, all of it. And which is why when they say don't take life too seriously, they're sort of pointing to that larger truth that in the ultimate sense, well, you can't keep it no matter how big you are, no matter anything, because this is so temporary. It just feels long to us. But here's the thing, a lot of people, like Bill Maher, right? HBO comedian guy, and he's like, in his 50s or 60s, and he says, I think he was giving advice to young people. He says, life goes by in the blink of an eye. As he stands looking at it now, he's in the latter half of his life, and it's just like, where did it go? It just feels like it just went by, in a vanish, sort of thing now. But that's the thing, like, as it is for all people, it goes. Just like Sean Connery. Pierce Brosnan is my favorite Bond, by the way. But all of us, within 100 years or more, like, we'll all meet the same fate. What matters is understanding our true reality, the true underlying reality underneath it, so that we diminish our idea of what and who our form is, so to say. We don't become fully identified with the idea of who we think we are, but we end up tapping into our deeper self, whereby deeper powers lie. In acting, this is certainly a major thing, because you can't embody the life of somebody else if you're currently embodying your own life. You need to step out of yourself, so to say, and then embody somebody else. Largely through your own personal experience and your own instincts and so forth, you're using yourself as a tool to be somebody else, so to say, which goes to show that identity is arbitrary. Largely, it's just based on conditioning and so forth, right? Now, there are certain universal laws and principles which are immutable, which we all live by, whether we want to like it or not. But basically, one of them is that this temporary form, this temporary expression, is just that, and it's not the full-fledged force of reality. When somebody's a kid, they don't totally understand that, because they have the rest of their life to live. They're going to be invincible and whatever. And then as their form begins to decline at a certain point, they can become horrifically depressed if they were like all awesome when they were a kid, and then they start to lose those powers, those abilities. It's very depressing. And from the standpoint of any ego, it's horrifying. And a lack of spiritual awareness will lead to massive depression within one person's life. And you can compound that based upon however many people there are. I don't know if animals even think about this or feel it's because they don't necessarily think. It's hard to know. Humans do, though. They're aware. They will decline. They will die. It is horrifically depressing, no matter how much acceptance they end up having, if they don't have this larger spiritual awareness that this life is very temporary, no matter whether you live to 90 like Sean Connery or a lot shorter. And it's our duty, therefore, to simply live with as much vigor and with as much truth and authenticity and consciousness as possible, because that is who we are. It is our duty, goal, or I don't want to use those words. I don't want to make it a solid type of thing, but it is our dictum in a certain sense to know ourselves for who we are in truth, not in relativity. right? Relative to you, I'm Jay, right? Relative to others, you're whoever you are. Relative to the rest of us, Sean Connery, Sean Connery. But the underlying awareness, perceiving, and living the life of Sean Connery is literally the same. It's simply embodying a different life. And it is upon us, with respect to personal development, with respect to spiritual development, our duty is to do those things at the primary, and then allow those to inform our actions, outside of ourselves, with respect to interacting with others. Um, so yeah, every person is special in a sense, and every person ultimately is perishable as well. And so, with respect to death, on one level, it's a tragedy. On another level, it is a necessary outcome based upon having life. And on another level, uh, there's an indifference between life and death in the deepest spiritual sense. Because it's as if you are looking at life through one lens of, say, one person, and then you're not. Right? It's when you are horrifiedly attached to this form, to this identity, that hellishness and devilry becomes the reality. There was a play that came to my college, University of Florida, and it very deeply affected one of my friends. It's called You Can't Take It With You. I don't remember. I saw the play. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but the message my friend took out of it is that, well, hey, when you die, you can't take it with you. Your money, your anything. So we need to live for now. We need to, as John Lennon said, live for today. We need to be our truest selves now. Do it now. See? And then we can have lives, in a certain sense, maybe a billion times better than Sean Connery's was. Let's just say he had a great life. He was a movie star. He got to play Bond, who's super cool, and he got to play a lot of other people. On a material level, that sounds like a very good life. And I hope he was happy on the inside. I hope he knew himself at a deep level. It's hard. I can't say. I don't know if he did or didn't. But if he did, that'd be good. So, but as much as the image of Sean Connery is, which is to say this awesome, Bond, amazing person, we can do better than that if we live our deepest selves, all of us. But we can't rely on others to do it. We can only do it ourselves. And then allow the power of our own self to light a fire, so to say, that can burn someone else's ego through consciousness, that can shine light and awareness onto problems the other person may be avoiding or whatever through consciousness. You see, we must be our best selves. We must tap into consciousness at its deepest level and allow that to guide our path through the earth or the universe or whatever it may be. And therein lies essentially the salvation of all mankind, because it's not a matter of anything that can be done at an external level. No policy can do it. No anything can do anything at the very deepest level. People simply need to be able to live with freedom as much as can be afforded, and they need to be able to look internally and see who they are beyond the surface expression, beyond the Sean Connery, beyond the Jay Shaw, beyond the whomever. It's all consciousness, and it's the one consciousness. It's the one life. That is the most fundamental precept of unity. Though our forms and expressions will differ vastly. Sean Connery plays Bond in the 60s. Pierce Brosnan plays Bond in the 90s. Different people, completely different movies, so to say. Right? Pierce Brosnan was maybe 10 when Connery took up the Bond role in Dr. No. So, that was a lot to say. But who we are beyond the surface. And in a sense, everything about ourselves, in a certain sense, is the surface. Even the personal self, the deepest personal self, in a sense, is the surface. And the deepest self is just simply the incorporeal one life. The very animating awareness that's aware of any and all things, which is the the derivative, the thing from which all things derive, as well as all perceptions, emotions, experiences, as well as our conscience and intuitive faculties and everything that's contained within awareness is existing within the one life, which is the very essence of Connery, of you, of me. And now the one life is not expressing itself through Sean Connery. The ego of Sean Connery is gone. And now we are aware of that loss, so to say. But the one life is still a full and total expression. It simply changed its form. So, anyway, that's what I have to say about that.